this is my approach for making contact, and everyone does it differently. I know that. You do what you feel comfortable with, but you're talking to a neighbor. So I knock on the door like everyone does, or ring the bell. But when I do that, I step back because you don't want someone to step out and you're right there and make them feel uncomfortable. And of course, when the person opens the door, they look at you with, oh dear, and they're kind of apprehensive. And that's okay. That's going to happen 99% of the time. But if you've already stepped back and say, hello, Mrs. Jones, I'm Jim Speiran from Emerald Bay, and I'm your neighbor. And as I'm doing that, I reach forward and I put my hand out, and they always take my hand. Never exception. I mean, it could happen someday, but never an exception to take my hand. And they usually smile. Oh, I know people in Emerald Bay, or I know people in that area, whatever area you're in. If I'm doing someplace in Smith County that's not near my area, they may know me. I just say I'm from Smith County and work in this area for whoever it might be, one of the candidates. But again, it's very important that you approach it, and it's always with a smile. And the other thing I do when I'm walking up to the door, I look to see if there's any American flags, NRA things, anything that gives you an indication that you got a pretty patriotic person in that place. And once again, remember, we're only looking at Republican. If you're a Republican, you only have a Democrat if you're a Democrat voters. We don't spend time trying to convert a Democrat to a Republican. I'm sure they don't spend a lot of time, well, they may on us, but a lot of time taking us from a Democrat to from a Republican to a Democrat. As you're introducing yourself, you're putting out your hand, and I've never been refused, as I said. And anyone else use that approach, shaking hands when you join, or just say hello to people? You do? Okay. And have you had ever an issue with that? I just find that when you tell them you're your neighbor, right away you can almost see them relax. And then when you go to shake their hand at the same time, it's like, wow, it's kind of, I don't know, I call it a little bit of a bonding in the sense that you're just making contact, physical contact. And they're accepting it means that they've accepted that contact, which is a really positive thing. If they tell you they're not Mrs. Jones, well then you say, I apologize, and you go through that process and say, I apologize, I guess our records are wrong, do you mind if I update my records? And you try and get them. In most cases, they'll say, yeah, no problem, and they'll give you the information. And I suppose you could get one from the other party. So if I'm a Republican, I might get a Democrat and say, nah, I don't need that. I'll give it to my party, and that'd be fine. You say, well, thank you for your time, and walk away. You're always going to get some situation where someone says, especially if you're going for a candidate, you'll say, I'm here for Jim Speiran, to help him get elected. We're not voting for Jim Speiran. Okay, is there a reason for that? And they say, look, I'm not voting for him. Thank you. And I'll say, okay, thank you for your time, and leave. I mean, you just want to make sure I don't leave without asking the question, is there a reason for that? Because they may say, yeah, because he did such that, and then I can counteract if he allows me, or she allows me. But if they don't, and it looks like it's a done deal, you just walk away because it's not worth the effort. Because, you don't want to spend more than 3 minutes with each person, 3 to 4 minutes with each person if you can help it. And if they have a lot of information, you can do it differently. Anyhow, be yourself, speak from your heart. You're doing what you believe is for your country and for actually you're doing it for your county, and your country. And I believe that. By the way, I didn't tell you, and you probably already know that. I'm Canadian by birth, American citizen by choice. And that's what it means to me when we do this kind of thing. You're out there for your country. You're out there for your county. You're out there for your nation, in a sense, or your state. And it's important that we do that. So, and it's be yourself, speak from your heart. You are doing what you believe is for your country, family, friends, so be proud and upbeat. And I think that's very positive. That attitude comes through. If the person really wants to talk, I validate their phone number and I tell them someone will call them back, because generally the candidate, if we can, if not someone within his structure, that would be good. In my case, actually, I usually know enough about my candidate that I'm willing to have that discussion and spend a little bit of time and get a little behind. But again, if you're in mass, the person in charge of the coordinating of that will probably tell you, don't waste your time, keep moving. And I think that's a good argument as well. Okay, so we've gone down here, and they're willing to listen to what you have to say. So if they are supportive of my candidate, I ask for permission to place a sign, which I mentioned. If they're supportive, I ask if they could have I like to get email addresses. I get very few of those, as you can imagine. I may, in and go into 150 homes, I may get 3 email addresses. That's not a very good percentage, and that may be high, I don't know. It's very hard. They just say, I don't think so. Well, I gave you mine. No, I don't say that. If they're supportive, I ask them for email address, and if no one is home, of course, you leave a handout with a note. I know on the sheet they were not home. I may notice any other characteristics, such as, again, if there's a flag there, if there's an RA sign or anything else that may give me a positive sign, or I may see something else that gives me a negative sign, and I don't know what that would be. I'd have to see it to know it, but you look for things as you're walking up the driveways, you're looking around, you're looking at the neighborhood, general condition of the neighborhood. And the other thing that we have when we go is, I know when I go to that door, that person voted 3 out of 3 times in the national and 2 out of 2 times out of the primary, or 2 out of 4. We look at the last 4 elections and say, how many times in the last 4 elections did he vote national, how many primary? So when I go up there, I know if they're 4 out of 4 or 4 out of 4, I know they're going to vote no matter what. So all I'm doing is trying to convince them on my candidate, because they're going to vote. And if they don't like my candidate, they're going to vote for someone else. So that's really an important thing to know as well, and that's part of the information you should be getting from your. That's the stuff I give to my folks when they go door to door, so they know when it's a 4 out of 4, they're going to try harder. If they know it's a 1 out of 1, they may say, the person's not really paying much attention, I can move on to someone that can bring more value for me. Well, these are things that I don't like to ever say what you shouldn't do, but you have to tell the folks what not to do, and we do that with our group. And they all know this now, and it's pretty simple stuff. Don't argue with anyone who disagrees with you. I mean, there's just no value. You're not getting anywhere, and you both get upset. And it may hurt your candidate, because they say, that person that's out here helping out so-and-so, he's nasty. If the candidate's like that, why would we vote for him? So you can hurt your candidate. Don't spend too much time, we've said that before. Don't wear any clothing or carry material that might be offensive. I don't know what that might be. You have to think what it would be with where you're going. But there are things that would be offensive to someone coming to the door. Just go kind of looking neat and clean. Patriotic shirt would be fine, or anything, just as long as it doesn't say something nasty across the front, which we've seen people wear. Don't go on property or in communities that say no trespassing or soliciting. It's really important because they really get upset. Having done it once just to test it, thinking, no, they're not going to mind me. It's what I'm doing. I'm not selling anything. But they don't like it. I went to one community and the guy said, yeah, we don't like it, but I'll go with you. Wow, how good is that? So that can happen as well. And if you can find someone in that community that will kind of endorse you, then you're allowed to go in that community, and it makes a big difference. Of course, you want to not go where there's dogs, and unless you really like dogs and I feel very comfortable, we don't go where the dogs are. Don't leave a flyer at homes for sale or unoccupied, just a waste of time, and it has no value, of course. Don't place literature on mailboxes or mail slots, it's illegal. And people have done that, of course, over the years, and it's not a good thing. And don't leave flyers on windshields, it offends many people. I got one the other day for some construction company, and I didn't notice it when I got in the car. I got too busy, and I get out, and they're just flapping away in front of me. So I had to pull over to pull it off, and yeah, right, I got to do it. So it's not a good thing. And don't go in a home of any stranger. In fact, we don't, well, actually, I do, but I encourage my people not to go into people's homes. The thing that I find is that I could spend probably on average of 15 minutes with each person, because I get invited in, oh, it's hot out there, come on in and have a drink. And I think, no, I don't have time. Well, just step in for a minute so we can talk for a minute. I want to ask you some questions out in the shade. Okay, and I step in the door. And I mean, they're very nice people. And the fact that we have 3 of us there is not an issue from a safety point of view, from my perspective. And you can pretty much tell by the people you're talking to, and you know who they are, the name and everything else. It's pretty safe. But you don't have the time to do that. That's the reality. But you meet some nice people, and you make notes of those people, because those are the ones you want to go back and see if there'll be a block captains or something to help you get the vote on the next time around. Okay, we are now open for questions. If you have any questions on that part of it, any type, but what we're going to do next is going to do telephone demo, if anyone wants to do that. And the other thing is, there's no one in here that I see today, maybe everyone I pretty much know it. Everyone's already done this before, by the way. We were looking for people that hadn't done it before. But anyhow, you've all done it before, you're all pretty good at it. Well, but you've done it, you're going to train her, I know. But that's good.
I have one suggestion though, if you walk up to someone that has already thinks they've got their mind made up, you can ask them, do you know your candidate? And if they indicate, or if they hesitate or anything, you say, okay, are you open to a discussion?
Perfect, good idea. I think that's a good point to make, because that's a very good question, because what happens is, like I got some neighbors and they say, I'm voting for so-and-so. I said, do you know that person? No, but my friends in Tyler seem to like him. I said, what's he stand for? I don't know. Well, let me tell you what he stands for, and then you have an opportunity. So you're right. If you can get that start, that's a good question to ask. I like that. Anyone else got ideas like that? Thoughts? Because I think when you...
Well, kind of on what he said, it's not specifically, some people say I don't really care, or I don't know. You can ask them what issues are important to them, because then you can talk about their interests.
Perfect.
Another thing, you can ask them if they're conservative. Or if you walk up and they say, are you with the Tea Party? You say, yes, and you say, oh, they don't. I said, well, we have the same values. I'm taking a chance thing.
Yeah, take it, but at that point, they're throwing you out the door anyhow.
No.
So, no, I'm saying that when they say to you, are you Tea Party, they're making it sound like they're not maybe happy with you, so that's a good way to say we have the same values. Yeah, that's a good... You've got nothing to lose by doing that. Yeah.
We're very receptive.
That's good. Because in reality, we do have the same values. In fact, it's kind of interesting. The Republican Party, the way they're attacking the Tea Party group, they obviously don't have the same values as a lot of the people do. We're closer to the people than they are at this point. Any other questions?
On the phone banking, I was thinking...
Oh, we're going to do phone banking.
Yes, about, like, I had a quick suggestion. Which is, hi, my name is David, I'm a volunteer for so-and-so, would you like more information about it? That way you don't kick them off and say nothing. They say no politely, then that's fine.
Oh, okay, yeah. Very good point. Yeah, I think in the phone bank, you got a methodology getting started and whatnot. Okay, we're going to let the phone banking go, and then if you want, we can do a couple of, for those that have never done it, we can do a couple of demos of how we do it. We got some nice volunteers that would like to do that. Good. At least 3, but let's do the phone banking first, and I'll give you a mic.